Ex-inmates of Reddit, what was the stupidest thing you've seen a new inmate do on his first day in prison? Shit all over a suicide cell to make a point, then stuck in there with their masterpiece. I worked an intake at the city jail and witnessed a mentally ill woman use her menstrual blood to paint her cell. Also, I worked as the janitor. That was a fun job. One guy bragging about what he did to get himself in jail. Other dude showering barefoot. Great way to get convicted, great way to get jungle fungus. My first time and I went to take a shower for the first time. I got undressed and was about to step in when like 6 people all started yelling at me, put some fucking shoes on, dumbest white boy lol. After that I bought some shower shoes. Reach across someone's food. Is this a matter of courtesy, or do people have to assume you're gonna fuck with their food if you reach over it? Courtesy and respect. It's way more serious than someone who has never been locked up would expect. Went out to eat with some friends. Reached across my friend's plate to grab the salt. My friend has done time. He was like, heads up, you would never last in prison. Whoops, well now I know. I did 14 years in federal prison for wire fraud. I got out last February. I'm 36. Some things I can say are these. While your sexuality may not be an issue outside of prison, inside prison, male inmates who are openly gay are generally disrespected. Gambling and drugs create debts that are at some point unable to be paid and can result in serious issues for yourself. Most prisons operate a social hierarchy based on gang affiliations or hometowns, although there can be large separations based on race. However, rapists and child molesters will basically be free game for anyone who wants to take their shit or torment them. You might have been a badass outside of prison, but generally you can't fight several people at once, which is what would happen if you talk about how much of a badass you are. Keep your shit to yourself and don't talk crazy to people, which is seen as disrespect. Respect/disrespect has a different meaning in prison, and you'll figure it out. Best to just keep to yourself, unless as much as possible, unless you want to embrace prison life and become institutionalized. Prison is not a place to make friends. Kid gets booked in, hits the unit and starts borrowing food and other commissary items. Before he knew it, he was $200 in the hole. Problem is, in jail and prison, most people who are willing to loan items out expect 2 or 3 of the same item back. Yeah, no, interest. Very easy way to get yourself indebted is by borrowing any food or other items. Never get in debt while incarcerated. A slight twist, we had a pink wet floor sign that we would put up in the entrance to the showers, so everyone knew there was someone in there jerking off. The fun game was to watch the new guys, myself included, innocently walk into the entrance to the showers that very first time, past the pink wet floor sign, and then see him come skittering back out a few moments later. Father-in-law did 12 years on a second-degree murder app back in the very early 90s. He told me that one time this new guy plopped himself down at the Hells Angels table and started eating breakfast. When he was told to move, he ignored them. After breakfast, the co's ended up having to cut through about 6 rolls of duct tape to get the guy loose. He never sat near the house again. For some reason I didn't expect the Hells Angels to respond like Jock Brothers. Well, it was Canadian maximum security. Told literally everyone how he was going to escape and showed off all the tools he was using. Was he stopped by the other inmates or by guards? Theirs was a mole. A snitch. Within hours of him trying to saw his way through the bars with the threads of the waistband of his underwear, we were searched and he was removed. In all fairness, he was awaiting trial and looking at 50+ years. Call his grandma and just cuss her out and talk her like dog shit because she didn't want to put her house up for collateral to bail him out. Anybody do anything to teach him manners? Or just mind their business? Nothing serious. He was shut out from having access to any of the goods inmates were able to get. Baldwin County Jail in Alabama is quick to add charges and extend your stay to keep that head count up. The jail was all about barely meeting requirements and keeping as much money as possible coming in. They were so cheap that they put beans with almost every lunch and dinner, and on Saturday and Sunday they didn't serve the usual 3 meals. You got brunch and an early dinner, and then a single peanut butter and jelly sandwich around 7 p.m. Where I was in prison, they utilized 40mm soft round launchers to respond to group disturbances. Let me tell you, they weren't soft. Kid comes in thinking he's still hardcore from juvenile hall because guards there didn't do anything when people fought. Decided to up and join a gang that he knew nothing about on his first day, thought he was tough, and started to diss the gang they had high tensions with at the time, and started a group disturbance. Co's respond, tell him to get down, he refuses and curses at them, boom, 40mm to his face, was an accidental shot to the face according to the Co. Face was distorted as hell after. Fractured skull. On his first day. Those 40mm less lethal rounds are fucking serious. If you gave me the chance to get pepper sprayed or shot with one of those things, I'd pepper spray myself every time. Edit. Chances non to less lethal because you can still die from getting shot in the wrong place. Guy came in, got on the top bunk, within 10 minutes dude rolled off it and smacked his head on the concrete. Started to have a seizure. Guards eventually came and just videotaped him for a while in the middle of the room. Eventually they walked him out when he stopped, but then he ran into the wall and fell down, then started to seizure again. They just kept filming. Nobody really thought he was having seizures, but he hit his head pretty bad, so they took him to the infirmary. What the fuck? Not shower for weeks. He got his clothes ripped up, and he was thrown half naked into the showers. They also tuned him up pretty good. Did anyone know why he refused to shower? Like, was he just gross, or was he afraid soap would be dropped? Obviously not related to this guy, but I bunked next to a woman who refused to shower because she was pregnant. She was trying to become as unhealthy as possible in hopes that it would spur a miscarriage. She would also jump off the top bunks onto her stomach. She didn't eat for the first few days and she literally slept all day every day. I felt bad for her, but she was putting my own health in danger. I cut off 10 inches of my hair before going in to avoid getting lice, and I sure as hell wasn't going to let myself sleep next to someone who was going to attract bugs. If you have any sign of bugs, you go into isolation. I put in a request to move and made it very clear why. I told them that she was severely depressed and possibly suicidal. They let me move across the room to an open bunk, but nothing happened with her. She should have been in the medical bay, but they were too full. Excuse me, sir, there seems to be a mistake. I'm supposed to be getting out of prison today. You're in the wrong line, Dumbus. This may not have been his first day, but I will never forget this. This while I was in the intake tank, which is the first tank or section you go into after being processed in county. This young kid comes into county and keeps complaining that he doesn't get his cannabinol and other marijuana related prescriptions in jail. He was really arrogant and constant pissing everyone off. During count one day as we were all in our bunks, he starts complaining again and then says to the guard, what if we all riot immediately like 10 other guys yell very loudly we don't know or agree with him? The guard then says, what the fuck did you say? The kid then continues about rioting and that he has rights. Everyone in the tank fucking stays like frozen in their bunk, trying their best to be non-threatening and also show they have no interest in what this moron is saying. So the guard picks him up by his throat and slams him into the wall. After scaring the kid shitless, he explains he has a new charge for inciting a riot. Kid gets hauled off to solitary. Never saw him again, but I heard he spent the rest of his 30, 60, 90 whatever amount days in solitary. Absolutely insane to me that he'd say that in a fucking county jail. Some people are just idiots. Got busted for smoking weed with two buddies. When we put in the holding cell, one of them wanted to mark the event by carving his name in the paint on the cell door. When we got put in a cell later, they came back and took him to solitary for a week. Not an ex-inmate, but an ex-co. Dude came in on drug charges. First thing he does upon walking into the pod is announce loudly enough that I could hear that he got drugs past the dipshits in intake. Yeah, not the brightest bulb, that one. Lol. Was he telling the truth, or just bluffing? The truth. They were in his ass. They didn't catch it on the bend and cough.